Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ryan Bowlin Presents Everything But Bowling, the podcast. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Vikings. Week 7 of the NFL season is this week, and that's also the bye week for the Vikings. So, what better time to talk about what's happened so far this season and to talk a little bit about what the future holds than right now. So, I'll waste no time in bringing in the man of the hour. You know his name, you've seen him, but more importantly, you've heard him. Paul Allen, the voice of the Minnesota Vikings. Paul, how you doing today?
And voice of Canterbury Park, where the people come to play. Canterbury Park, where it's summer every day. Horses sing, and they're racing. And here comes Ryan surging on the outside.
I love it.
Oh, and AFN. So the law of the bosses doesn't get mad for not including if they watch.
So obviously, you know, PA. It's usually Vikings on Sunday. So what's PA up to on the bye week?
Excellent question. I get an opportunity to watch more games if I'm so inclined. Dallas doesn't play, so normally I like to watch the game live of the team we play next, but they're both on bye. So, man, it's just going to be a nice chill Sunday. I normally go to church Saturday nights at 6, but I might go Sunday at 10 a.m. And that's the beauty of the bye week, taking a few days away from everything radio and just having absolutely no idea for one time a year what I'm doing on Sunday.
I think that's a good thing. A little break never hurt anyone. So let's just get right into the kind of the season that's happened so far. Game 1, Cincy, we start off with that, that overtime loss. Now entering week 7, going on the Bengals a little bit. Do you think they're for real, or is that a game that we can say, we lost to a good team, or is that a tough one to take?
Great question, bud, because I knew Jamar Chase was going to be good into the NFL, and I was almost offended when, people were just talking football in the preseason, but they're like, oh, Jamar drops all these passes and everything. I'm like, he never dropped him at LSU. It's the preseason. He's going to be a big timer. Then he came out and was like, his mind was drifting, and I understand it. Human nature happens. But that Burrow and Jamar Chase bit off the Joe Mixon play action, I like that a lot. T can play big time. Tyler Boyd has more to him. Then you get to the defense, and really in the front 7, they're just thicker and tougher than people know. So when you say for real, it's a long shot they get to the Super Bowl, but to push teams to the end of the season for the first time in a while, yeah, the Bengals can definitely do that. And I can't remember who they play this weekend, but I like them this weekend. I think they're going to win this weekend. It might be at the Giants. No, that's Carolina.
I think they play Baltimore. You have them against Baltimore?
Oh, hey.
That's a big one. I don't know if you didn't know that one.
It's a division collision, kiddo.
It's at Baltimore, too.
And Baltimore is not as good as its record, believe it or not. It's a playoff team that can go to the Super Bowl, but I think we're looking at one loss there. But they've had a lot of injuries, too. So, wow, what a great game that is this weekend. Yeah, I think Cincinnati can win that game.
Yeah, my roommate's a Cincinnati Bengals fan, so we'll be watching that together because I got nothing to watch this Sunday, so I'll be rooting for him. So then getting into the second game, obviously, we know Paul Allen's call of Greg Joseph's kick kind of went viral. Just kind of talk about what happened in that moment.
Which moment was that when I blew it at Arizona?
Exactly that one, if you want to put it that way.
That was stunning to me. After I knew I blew it, and I knew I got back into it, and I don't exactly know why now that I've had weeks to think about what the purpose there was. When people very kindly were like, "You doing okay, man?" It's like it went viral on Barstool, and people are saying you're an embarrassment, or the call was an embarrassment and all that. And I never really thought of that. It hit me after the game that, man, I'm just really, really frustrated they didn't win that game, because I really, really thought they would win that game. So that might have played into it too. I wanted them to win so badly. I didn't look at the officials underneath the crossbar for, when the hands go up, man, like I've done it so long, they go like that and they go like that. So when my man goes that way, I'm already no good. Or when my man goes that way, it's good. And I didn't look at it. I've called a lot of plays. Let's just put it that way. I probably called 60,000 plays in my career. Been put in a position for some very big calls, and have come through the grace of God and through my skill set. A couple are in the Hall of Fame. Some others have also been deemed big too. So I more left it thinking, what's the purpose here? Like, everything has gone a certain way through the grace and love of God. but this one didn't. And there's public shame involved. I can carry a lot. God has constructed me to carry a lot. And that includes Paul, you're the greatest play-by-play voice I've ever heard, and the Minneapolis Miracle changed my life. Thank you, but that's not true. Paul, you embarrassed the team, yourself, and KFAN and the Vikings Radio Network by saying the kick was good, and you should have shame, public shame. Well, that's not true either. So it's finding the line of divinity in there, and that's all it is to me. Is I don't expect to do everything perfectly on that microphone in all those big moments, but there was purpose that came out of that I have learned and studied, and public praise. Thank you, love you, very nice. Public criticism and or shame, whatever, man, that's your opinion. Cool. It impacts me none. It's elevator music both ways. It has to be. But I left that wondering what was the purpose there with people feeling it's okay because of what I do to get out there and try to get me to bite into things because my Twitter following's bigger than most, to like engage and argue and be sad and there was none of that. It was just it's a long answer, but I mean, you really got to my heart there. Thank you.
No, that was a great answer. And then in that Arizona game, obviously the Cards are still undefeated. Do you think if that, obviously with that kick going in, we would have won? Is that some optimism as a Viking fan that you can look at, be like, well, we should have given them their first loss. So
you watch the, but I mean, you watch the games. I mean, crap. I mean, look at the offensive line penalties in that Cincinnati game. I mean, 80 on them. And then look at the offensive line of Carolina against Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick. 0 sacks. Christian Darrisaw's first start, he threw Hassan Reddick to the side on the play. Kirk wanted to KJ like he was a doll, like he was a kid. Just, hey, you get out of there. I mean, Darrisaw's talented. So just put the totality together, man. We had no right to have a chance to win at Cincinnati with all those penalties. Dalvin doesn't drop it, we probably win. Arizona's undefeated. I knew into it. I knew during it. And I knew out of it that you can have Isaiah Simmons, Budda Baker, and Chandler Jones. You can have all these wonderful players, but that type of defense is not a great matchup for the way the Vikings run offense. Same with the Dallas Cowboys, as you will see out of the bye when we beat them. And I said after the Lions game when everybody was tripping, is that I understand what you're talking about here and stuff, but you know, by the time midnight strikes on Halloween, the Minnesota Vikings will be 4-3, and they will. And I guess we'll just have to wait to see where that stands. But through it all, it's not necessarily, Ryan, the complete cliche. Look, they should have beaten Arizona. Arizona might be the best in the game. Look, they almost lost to the Lions. Madison dropped it, and we needed to get down the field quickly. It's the thing is when, not if, when the offense and the defense, when they mesh, and they're both playing well at the same time. Look out. And that's going to start out of the bye. The adjustments that they made on offense in that Carolina game, via having some offensive meetings early in the week with Zimmer and just different meetings, and they worked longer and it worked. That needed to happen. And man, I can't wait for that Halloween game.
I know, I'm really excited. So game 3 comes around. We play Seattle. Usually, I mean, as Viking fans, it feels like we play Seattle every single year. How do you think that feels for, I mean, you calling the games, you know, we lose to Seattle all the time and we play them every year. How do you think that feels for the team to finally get it over them?
Well, I mean, it's a cliche, Ryan, but it really is true because the game's so physical and emotional and it's once a week. It honestly does not matter who you play. It matters when you play them. We really caught them at a good time. I'm not a big fan of their roster. Russell Wilson's Hall of Fame. I love him. It's one of my favorite players in the NFL. And I like DK and Tyler Lockett, Bobby Wagner's HOF. I like their team, but the way the roster was constructed compared to what we've seen in the past, it just, and they had some injuries. That game had to be won. It's the home opener. First time people are back, you know, congregating for a regular season game in a year and change. I knew it would be loud. So that was kind of a predictable win. And then after that, that's when we had, now that was, I told you the last time we chatted, that Cleveland, Stefanski, Zimmer, Vikings game. Woo, man, I was excited for that. And it was a bloodbath. It was physical. We're throwing into the end zone to tie it. You know, but see, that really personified right there part of what I said to you earlier with when the offense and the defense, they get together. because the offense went down the field like it was the 27 Yankees, man, and just the greatest show on turf. Phenomenal. Didn't score the rest of the game. But the defense mostly did its part despite some big rushing numbers. Yet on 3rd and 20, it gets leaky, man, and there goes Kareem Hunt for 33, and that was a backbreaker. And, Odell got open late, and Baker messed it up, and that could have been the game there. So then you beat Detroit after that. So it's still a team searching for identity. It's a team that will come out of the bye outside of Patrick Peterson completely healthy, and they'll be at home on Halloween. It's an evening game. People getting all jacked up and juiced up during the day. And we'll see how good these Cowboys are because they're rolling into a situation on Halloween night they have not seen this season.
Yeah, and then against Detroit, we kind of got that taste of kicker success, in a game that definitely shouldn't have come down to the wire, but Kirk and the offense stepped up and Joseph perfectly delivered. Speaking on Joseph, now he's clutched up against Cincinnati in that game to send it to overtime. And then obviously the missed one against Arizona, and then makes the one against Detroit, and then Carolina in regulation to win it. He misses. Do you think Greg Joseph is our kicker the rest of the year? You think it's kind of a similar situation for the prior kickers where we kind of bring people in to try out, or is he the guy?
I hope he is. I mean, he what have we hit from? 52, 52, 53, 55, 54, walked off against the Lions. Cool. I mean, an ugly win sure beats a pretty loss. So we'll take that one. Now, at Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, the way he was kicking and when he kicked those kicks, that win got aggressive. And it was aggressive on the sideline in the pregame, but it got worse. So, I mean, it's not complete grace given, but because he missed two. But nevertheless, there were some extenuating circumstances. I think he has a very bright future. He's still young. He has 2 walk-offs, one with us, one with Cleveland in 2018.
And then you mentioned the Charlotte game. We saw Kirk for back the second straight week now clutch up and drive us down the field and help us win the game. So now Kirk this season, throwing for over 1,700, 13 touchdowns, 2 picks. Are you surprised at all with his early success so far this year? And do you think he'd be an MVP candidate if we were winning more games?
I don't think he's an MVP candidate now for sure. If we were winning more games, that'd be tough because of what Kyler's doing, and you got Patrick, and you got Tom, and you got the name value and everything. So I'd say that's probably not going to happen. And it doesn't matter to Kirk, just knowing who he is. So anytime Kirk goes lights out, I'm not surprised because he is unbelievably talented. His passes are accurate, and when he goes the left hash mark all the way over to the right boundary, the sideline, or the right hash all the way over to the left sideline. Those are hard passes, and he's really good at them. He's a student of the game. He's a scholar of the game. I do believe he is calling more of the game at the line of scrimmage out of that Carolina game, but I don't exactly know how that works. But pretty sure he does have more in his arsenal he can control as opposed to what's given him in the huddle. So no, because I've seen Kirk be unbelievable before, like the end of that New Orleans playoff game where he found Thielen, then Rudy, and walked off. But it's when this thing becomes a frenzy, when it's helter skelter, run all over, got to go fast, kill it, ching ching ching. There's not better in the game right now. I mean, there are quarterbacks. Yes, I and others would prefer to have for 10 years over Kirk. But when it comes to the final minute, 40 seconds of games, and you have to get down there, I really hope those within the organization, if there are any who second guess him and his leadership and, it's, hey, he's reading the Bible for a second time and he's a devoted Christian and he's never going to drop an F-bomb and he's never going to make an off-putting joke and he's never going to stare at somebody the way a lot of people do. Hopefully they understand that it's okay to be like that and be good and succeed as opposed to being the antiquated, rugged, rigid, whatever the NFL knows. Because if there are those within that building who second guess that man and they are looking at him before their lot in life, then they need to remember at the end of the Cincinnati game, it was Kirk who got you down the field to win it and somebody else dropped it. End of the Arizona game, it was Kirk with KJ who got you down to the field to beat the undefeated team and the kicker missed it. It was Kirk who lit up Seattle. It was Kirk who got you down the field at the end of the game against Cleveland to throw in the end zone to try to tie it. Now, that wasn't a great game for Kirk, but they're not all going to be great. And then in Detroit, what happened? Needed to get down the field. You won. And in Carolina, we put up 571 yards of offense. And it was Kirk closing it to KJ. So I'm not kidding you, man. If it's private, if it's on the radio, if it's on a bus getting ready to go to Baltimore or whatever, I ain't having any of the Kirk can't lead. Kirk's different than everybody. It's okay to be different. It's not your job to determine whether somebody's different. So that's all done. I mean, what he's showing now, that's all done.
Yeah, I agree. So now overall, this team, they're 3-3, currently sitting in that last playoff spot. The tough opponents I had, you mentioned, Dallas, Baltimore, I guess after that, and then San Diego, Green Bay. We play the Rams later. I imagine the Vikings, they're going to have to steal a few of those games if they want to have the playoffs in their front mirror. So how do you think the Vikings stack up with the rest of their schedule?
Well, Cincinnati was better than I thought. Okay. And I thought that had to be a win. And I still believe it has to be a win. So that went the wrong way. Arizona was 50-50. You got to steal one of those. Not offended they lost. Got to win your home opener. They did. I didn't think they beat Cleveland. So that I'm on. I thought they'd be 4-2 right now, Ryan. They're 3-3. Beating Carolina, I didn't think that'd be a problem. I like our roster better than theirs. With that said, you're right. And again, it depends on who you play when you play them. So Dallas is the cat's ass, man, and it might have the best offense in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb's the bomb. Got Zeke going into Tony Pollard, where they're using their tight ends. It's continuity and familiarity is so important in life, in what you're doing now, just continuing to have these reps, do more play-by-play, get with me more. Let me listen, let me hear, hey, let's change this. Hey, that's really good. Because Mike McCarthy now has been the coach for the Cowboys for a little while. So Dak and Zeke and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup when he comes back and Jarwin and Schultz, they all know the plays. And Kubiak, Clint for us, Gary last year, Stefanski before that. It's pretty much the same. They all know the plays. So that's going to play into that game. At Baltimore, run defense has to be better than it has been. The LA Chargers can be had. They all can be beaten. When you play Arizona the way the Minnesota Vikings played Arizona, you can beat any team in the National Football League. But when you drop it like Madison did at home against the Lions, until proven otherwise, you can lose every single game left on your schedule.
Yeah, I agree. So then I know you're kind of a realist, man. So where do you think this team realistically finishes at the end of the season? You think they got that playoff view?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, I came into it thinking they'd be 11-6. I'm one game off at the bye, and I've seen how it developed, and I ain't going to lose or lament this thing and be like, well, they should have beaten Arizona, which they should have, but they didn't. So they're 3-3. Okay. It's difficult for me to go game by game by game by game, like lose Baltimore, win Chargers, win here. I can't do that. It's just too hard. From a theory standpoint, if you prognosticate from a philosophical standpoint, well, you have to win at Detroit. You have to split with Green Bay. I mean, a sweep would be great, but don't get swept. You have to split. You have to sweep the Bears. This is a year the Vikings are going to need to sweep the Bears because they dropped that Cincinnati game. And, do I expect them to win at Baltimore and at the LA Chargers? I expect them to win every home game the rest of the year. Let's put it that way. And that includes McVay's super special bunch coming here, the whole thing. They'll win every home game the rest of the year. So that's going to get you 7 wins there. Now you already got 1 on the road. So we got to find 3. So at Detroit, at Chicago, and then one of the others. I mean, what do we got? You said it, Baltimore, at Chargers, where else? At Green Bay. That's about it, right?
Yeah. They play the Steelers too.
Yeah, we won't lose to them. We're going to win every home game the rest of the year. Mark my words. So we got to get 3 on the road to get 11. More than 11, I think that's a stretch. Less than 11, yeah, that certainly could happen. I hope it doesn't.
I do too. Lastly, I'll ask you, touch on Mike Zimmer. Obviously, a lot of Viking fans along blog posts and all that stuff. They're kind of calling for Mike Zimmer's job. But what's your opinion on what Mike's been able to do this year? And do you think he is kind of on the hot seat mid-season, or do you think he has this job locked up for the remainder of the year?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would be flabbergasted if Mike wasn't the coach of the team until the end of the year. I mean, I've heard people say that, and that's a real sad disconnect the public has with not only the it's a sad disconnect the nameless, faceless genre on social media can have. And again, it doesn't matter, but you asked. the disconnect is you're disrespecting equity somebody has put into something. So if you have a coach that's, like our offensive coordinator here in 2018, John DeFilippo, came from Philadelphia as the quarterback's coach. They whooped ass on us in the NFC title game, won the Super Bowl, had the Philly special. He's a shiny toy. And I like John. This is not tearing John down. It was awful. I mean, it was just terrible with him and Zimmer, and they're waiting for this. They knew Stefanski was next, so he didn't even make a year. So it's like clearly they were like, and the owners too, we got to get rid of something in the year, but there was no equity there with him here. With Zimmer, I mean, if you fire somebody in the middle of the season and unless you have real internal locker room friction and things, or a myriad off the field things that keep popping up, then that's so disrespectful to think somebody would do that to somebody in the middle of a stream. So that's a whole commentary. That's about the only way to put it. He has time left on his contract. I think Mike's done a wonderful job here, specifically with what he's had defensively. It's been a constant battle to get the offense to mesh with the defense. The offense was better than the defense last year. So I have no idea. I'm very fond of Mike. I like him as a person. We own horses together. And yeah, I like Mike a lot as a person, but I get the business aspect of it, and I don't own the team. And if the owners and the constituents make those decisions, if they're like, hey, we want to go in a different direction, then I mean, I ain't going to bitch about it. I'm going to support the new person. But during the season, that doesn't ring truly with me at all.
All right, Paul, that's all I got for you. I really appreciate your time, man.
Got you, bud. Great job, Ryan. Call anytime, all right?
My thanks to PA for lending me some of his time. It's always great to talk to PA. I think the Vikings are going to finish 10-7. I think they're going to have to, and I think they will be able to beat Chicago both times, at least split with Green Bay, and then they're going to have to steal one or two between the Cowboys, Ravens, Chargers, and Rams. They're going to have to do it. They have the team to do it. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is playing out of his mind. Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Adam Thielen has sticky glue for hands. So they have the team around it. Defense is playing better throughout. Hopefully they can finally put all those pieces together after the bye, figure out what they're doing wrong, fix those, and then just once the offense and defense is working together as a tandem, like Paul Allen said, this team can be really good. So I think they're going to be able to figure that out, and we will make the playoffs. Maybe even it's that third playoff spot and we get that game on Nickelodeon. It's still the playoffs. Get me to the playoffs, and then cross our fingers, hope we do well. Greg Joseph, please don't miss a kick. That's all I got for this episode. I appreciate your time watching. At some point, I'm going to edit my interview that I had with Kevin Williams. I did that over the summer. I just have not had time to sit down and do that. This week, I just wanted to get something out because it's the Vikings bye week, so I just hit up Paul Allen, and he was able to give me some of his time. So once again, thank you, Paul. And yeah, that's really all I got for this episode. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your NFL Sunday.